YouTube, it's Eric. This is going to be a pretty quick video, so I'm going to work here in about an hour and a half. But I just wanted, this is like a little follow-up to the previous video I did on the Jesuit control of Freemasonry in the Rosicrucians. But if people aren't aware, there's just a lot of information to pack in like the 53-minute video I did a couple days ago. But one of the official founders of American Scottish Rite Freemasonry, his name was the Comte de Grasse. You see right here, or full name, Francois Joseph Paul de Grasse. You see here, SMOM, the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. You see here, born September 13th, 1722, died January 11th, 1788. Was a career French officer who achieved the rank of admiral. This guy actually fought in the American Revolutionary War. Led many of the Navy campaigns. And I have a source for that right from an official U.S. Navy source. You see the Navy of the United States from the commencement, 1775 to 1853. So you got Count de Grasse, a French Knight of Malta aristocrat. If people aren't aware, the father of the U.S. Navy, John Barry, was an Irish Roman Catholic. You see your John Barry right here, known as the father of the American Navy. See right here. Received his commission from President George Washington, and Scottish Rite Mason, President George Washington. And again, I'll show you this American Scottish Rite branch was created in 1801, but European Scottish Rite Masonry dates back to 1717. And like specifically, I covered in the last video, the Jesuits wrote the 32nd degree of Scottish Rite Freemasonry in 1754, the Prince of the Royal Secret, which shares the identical motto of the Jesuits, Ad Morgium Deo Gloriam. You see here, John Barry, father of the U.S. Navy, born into a Catholic family. Okay, so when you start looking into it, like all of the top military officials around George Washington in the American Revolution were Jesuit trained or Scottish Rite Freemasons, like Friedrich Wilhelm von Steuben, who wrote the official book Regulations for the Order and Discipline of the Troops of the United States, the book that served as the Army's drill manual for decades. Jesuit trained Baron von Steuben served as General Washington's chief of staff in the final years of the war. Baron von Steuben, educated by Jesuits. Look at right there. We're going back here to the Scottish Rite. This was the founder here, and actually, this guy here was he was the Grand Master of the Order of Saint John, and this also ties into what I was saying in the last video about how Nicholas de Bonneville and Jean-Marie Regon said that the Lodge of Saint John in Freemasonry, which is an allegory for the 3 degrees, is overall it's an allegory for the Jesuit order's complete control of Freemasonry, and specifically. Regon said every order of St. John, or every lodge of St. John, is the lodge of St. Ignatius. You see here, this order of St. John is now today like the British Knights of Malta. You see here, it was a medieval and early modern Catholic military order. It was headquartered in the Kingdom of Jerusalem until 1291. So the Grasse was the Grand Master of the Order of St. John as well. You see here, he was a big figure in the American War of Independence. This Count de Grasse. He was also big in establishing some battles down in Haiti, known as Saint Dominique at the time. The United States Navy has 3 vessels named in his honor: the USS Comte de Grasse. If you look at that right there, ship's named after a Knight of Malta, founder of the Scottish Rite Freemasons. USS Comte de Grasse. Here's the USS de Grasse, used in World War II. This reminds me of the USS Gardaquis, the 2 USS Gardaquis ships named after the devout Roman Catholic Don Diego de Gardaquis of the Gardaquis Banking House, who bankrolled the American Revolution, was great friends with George Washington. And Gardaquis was the first Spanish ambassador to the United States, who also laid the cornerstones for the first Roman Catholic Church in America. And there's, of course, a statue of Don Diego de Gardaquis in Philadelphia. His brother was a powerful Vatican cardinal in Spain. Here's the USS Gardaquis used as a patrol boat in World War I. or the USS the Grasse. I apologize. So you see, and here's the Grasse Mount in Burlington, named for Admiral de Grasse. It's a campus building for the University of Vermont. Yeah, so this guy is very, very influential. Here's his tomb in Paris with American flags on it. This guy was a Knight of Malta. He's actually mentioned in this article I got here, which I linked in the chat, a proposed alliance between the Order of Malta and the United States, 1794. Suggestions made to James Monroe, who was, of course, a Scottish Rite Mason, whose younger cousin became a Jesuit priest, Andrew Francis Monroe, S.J. But I'll get to that. But here's from the official, the Scottish Rite source here. I guess the website Freemasonry.com/Scottish Rite founder. You see here the life and times of Alexandre Francois Auguste de Comte de Grasse, a war hero and exceptional Freemason, and one of the founders of the ancient accepted Scottish Rite. So it's talking about the Scottish Rite Masonry being created in America in 1801. In 1801, 11 Freemasons in Charleston, South Carolina, founded a 33-degree system of Masonry known as the Scottish Rite. Most of the degrees had their origin in the Jacobite lodges in France, which the Jesuits completely controlled, as I showed in the last video. And the Rite would return to France in 1804 under the care of one of the most remarkable and least known of its founders, Alexandre Francois Auguste Comte de Grasse. The Comte de Grasse was about to establish the Rite so firmly in Western Europe that more than 200 years later, it is still the most prevalent form of Freemasonry on the continent. To understand how he was able to do it, you must first understand the kind of man he was. So let's look at this. He was the son of a heroic admiral, Francois Joseph Paul de Grasse, who was born in 1722. Look at this. At the tender age of 11, Francois, the Comte de Grasse, entered the Order of Malta. This is the founder of Scottish Rite Masonry in America. And he brought the Scottish Rite system back into France. Here at the tender age of 11, Francois entered the Order of Malta. But again, the Scottish Rite Masonry system was already in France at the time because it was the Jesuits' College of the Clermont in Paris, where many of the degrees were written. Look at this. At the tender age of 11, Francois de Grasse, Comte de Grasse, entered the Order of Malta, working as a page for the Grand Master, By the time he was 12, de Grasse had become an officer working on the galleys of the Knights Hospitaller, and 6 years later joined the French Navy. However, his place in history lay some 40 years later and some 3,000 miles west of his native France. And this is going into his activities in the American Revolutionary War. I'm not going to make this video too long because I do got to go to work soon. But you see, I'm going to link all these sources. You see it right there, the founder of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. This is right from a Freemasonry website. This article is written by Brother Jack Buta from the Paradise Valley Silver Trowel Lodge, number 29 in Arizona. This guy was a 32-degree Scottish Rite Mason. He wrote this. I showed in the last video the Jesuits wrote the 32nd degree of Scottish Rite. That's why they share the identical motto. And the Jesuit order's logo has 32 sun rays in it. Here, the founder of Scottish Rite Masonry, Knight of Malta, showing you pretty clear that the Catholic Church, created modern Freemasonry. Hey, how's it going, guys? Well, actually, there was a book that was written. I know this from reading Blavatsky. She quoted this one author who wrote a book actually comparing the Jesuits to Pythagoras, which I'd like to get my hands on that. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Yeah, it's amazing that it's right in plain sight that the Knights of Malta, are involved with the founding of the creation of modern Freemasonry. It's right here. And here, I'm just going to read this little quote from this little journal article: "A proposed alliance between the Order of Malta and the United States." This was written by General Edgar Erskine Hume in 1936. It's very interesting that Scottish Rite Mason James Monroe was the American go-between here, and you can see like the correspondence between James Monroe and the Knights of Malta here. This was page 4 where the Comte de Grasse is mentioned, though. Okay, right here. So there's now Edgar Erskine Hume is talking about how the French Knights of Malta were pivotal in aiding the American Revolutionary Army, which would make sense because there's a literal Jesuit priest. I'm just going to show you this guy here, known as the Patriot Priest. And this was like, and again, this was like a completely fabricated revolution because he had Jesuit priest John Carroll was like close with the British nobility. Like he was a mentor, or yeah, like he was when John Carroll was living in Britain, like he was stationed at Lord Arundel's castle. Are you kidding me? And then right during the time of the Revolution, I found this from Manly Hall. Like Benjamin Franklin was great friends with Jesuit priest John Carroll. Ben Franklin actually brought a copy of the Declaration of Independence to the papal nuncio in the Vatican. But Ben Franklin, like he was also good friends with King George III, and like they named a planet after King George III after the Revolution because it was all completely engineered. King George III, I have it on my website, in the Paris Peace Treaty of 1783 between the United States and Britain. King George III of England is referred to as the arch treasurer of the Holy Roman Empire. But the planet Uranus actually used to be called the Georgium Sidus, named after the Georgian planet, named after King George III of England. And Ben Franklin was great friends with William Herschel, the president of the Royal Society at the time. So, you know, it was a completely engineered revolution from top to bottom. And here's the Jesuit Patriot Priest, Pierre Gabault. See right here, Jesuit missionary and priest, Northwest Territories, an American patriot during the American Revolution. Jesuit priest. Actually, and there's a statue of him right here in front of the old cathedral and George Rogers Clark's National Historic Park in Vincennes, Indiana. There's the Jesuit Patriot Priest right there from the American Revolution. Okay. But back to here, it's back to the French Knights of Malta, which helped the grand Jesuitical design of creating, quote, the United States. And actually, I'm just going to show you this one photo here quick. I found, actually, shout out to Clint Richardson. I found this off his website. But I found in 1776, Ben Franklin, on a currency note he drew, he even put like the Jesuit IHS logo in this drawing. You'll see what I'm talking about. Here's an early 1776 design of a currency note from Benjamin Franklin, who was best friends with all of the Jesuit Carroll family, really best friends. You see Ben Franklin's design of 1776 currency note with the Jesuit sunburst. You see, and this is like an occultly hidden Jesuit sunburst, because in the Jesuit sunburst you got like a straight triangle. It's like it's. I'll pull up the logo. It's alternating pattern around the central sun. And this is what Franklin is doing here. And he's right in the center. He says, "We are one American Congress." This was printed in Philadelphia, which at the time in America in 1776, the only Roman Catholic church in America was in Philadelphia. If you look up the Jesuit logo, this is the alternating pattern that they occultly placed, or Franklin placed in here. So you got like an alternating pattern, squiggly line, straight line, squiggly line, straight line, squiggly line. See, it's alternate. It's alternating around the center. And that's what Ben Franklin's doing here with the thin line and like the thicker triangle. It's the exact same pattern. Okay, we're going back here to the Comte de Grasse, as mentioned by Edgar Erskine Hume here. He says, one of the great naval figures of the 18th century was one of these officers, a Knight of Malta. And this is another French Knight of Malta, the Pierre-André de Suffren de Saint-Tropez, a baillie of the order and sometime its ambassador at the court of His Most Christian Majesty. Suffren was early in 1778 appointed general of the galleys of the order, that's the Order of Malta, by the Grand Master. This high office he relinquished to serve under Admiral de Grasse. This is who I'm referring to in this video. This is like the founder, one of the founders of American Scottish Rite Masonry, Knight of Malta, Admiral de Grasse. Right here, you see SMOM. So, this high office he relinquished to serve under Admiral de Grasse in the American War. The Count de Grasse himself was a Knight of the Order of Malta. Look at that. Count de Grasse himself was a Knight of the Order of Malta, as were not a few of the other French officers who served in the American Revolution. Did you look at that? From day one, the plan was to be the sword arm of the Catholic Church, and that's why subsequently, from the founding of America to the year 1910, 85% of the immigration that came into America was directly from Roman Catholic countries. It just must be a coincidence, though, right? Absolutely not. You see, among them, among the other Knights of Malta, alongside the Count de Grasse and fighting for the American Revolutionary Army, were the Count de Colbert Malvier, Admiral de Sembusi, Commander de Espinouse, the Marquis de Castellan Magister, Brigadier Le Chevalier de Grasse-Preville, Le Chevalier de Vallon, the Count de Lagneron, and the two Counts de Metz, the Viscount de Noailles, this Viscount de Noailles was a brother-in-law of Roman Catholic Jesuit-trained Marquis Lafayette, one of George Washington's most trusted generals. And the Marquis Lafayette actually later then blew the whistle, saying that if liberties are suppressed in the United States, will be responsible, or the Jesuit priest will be responsible for it. But Lafayette was a Roman Catholic who was related to Knights of Malta. You see right here. The Viscount de Mirabeau was a Knight of Malta who fought for the U.S. The Chevalier de Luzerne, the first French minister to the United States, and others. All of these officers became in 1783 original members of the Society of the Cincinnati, as George Washington was a member of. And the Society of Cincinnati is an ode to the Roman general Cincinnatus. There's a statue of Cincinnatus in the city of Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati, Ohio, a direct ode to the Roman Emperor Cincinnatus. Cincinnati statue. Point off here. The current police chief of the city of Cincinnati is Jesuit trained. The current mayor is Jesuit trained. So here's the statue of the Roman general Cincinnatus holding the fasces in the city of Cincinnati, named after him. And the Society of the Cincinnati, which this is referring to, this is another one of the, this is like another Jesuit Freemason connection. How did Regis College come up from there? Cincinnati. So you guys, everyone should just check out the Wikipedia of this. They got like a phoenix as like their logo. So your George Washington was one of the founders of the Society of Cincinnatus. Or I guess the founder was Major General Henry Knox. Fought for the Pope's American Revolutionary Army. Oh, look, the meeting presided over by Jesuit-trained General Frederick Wilhelm von Steuben. So I recommend you guys check out this society. So you're named after a Roman general who was a dictator of Rome. George Washington, the first president of the society. And actually, the Jesuits America magazine just put out an article about how close Alexander Hamilton was to Catholics, and how fitting, because Alexander Hamilton was a tyrant. From day one, was trying to set up like central banking cartels in the United States. Oh, the Roman Catholic Freemason Pierre L'Enfant, who designed like the pentagram street pattern with the tip of the pentagram laying right over the Jesuit Father Andrew Whitehouse. Roman Catholic Freemason Pierre L'Enfant was a member. Oh, like actually, he suggested the eagle of he suggested the insignia of the society. You see, you got a Roman reef right there. Uh, the Comte de Grasse was, of course, a member of this order, as just cited by Edgar Erskine Hume. So I recommend you check out the original members. See, Roman Catholic John Barry, father of the United States Navy. So I recommend you check out that Society of Cincinnati. You see, the Knight of Malta, Francois Joseph Paul de Grasse, literally one of the founders of Scottish Rite Masonry, was a French papal knight of Malta. You see, so all these French Knights of Malta became in 1783 original members of the Society of the Cincinnati, or the Order de Cincinnatus, as it was known in France, the hereditary order to which certain officers were eligible who had served in the American War of Independence. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap up this video here, but I recommend you check out the correspondence from James Monroe, Scottish Rite Mason, to the Knights of Malta. So like on my screen here, this is the letter that the Knights of Malta sent to James Monroe, proposing that they get into like commercial relations with each other. And you see, this was Monroe's response. He says, I have received with great pleasure the considerations you were pleased to present to me, pointing out the mode by which the United States of America and the Isle of Malta may be serviceable to each other. He's right there. And this came from the Writings of Monroe, Volume 2. It looks like Writings of Monroe, published in 1899, Volume 2, page 128. And again, it's not a coincidence. Like, I have this documented on my website. Scottish Rite Mason James Monroe. Look who his younger cousin became. Oh, a Jesuit priest. Andrew Francis Monroe, S.J., Society of Jesus. Again, this is like another cult and hidden fact of how the Jesuits completely control the United States of America. Like, why are there Jesuit priests related to American presidents? Like Robert Francis Taft, S.J., who is related to Skull and Bonesman William Howard Taft. And you got like the Roman Catholic Archbishop of Newark, James Roosevelt Bailey, was an older cousin of both of the Roosevelt presidents, Franklin and Teddy. It's completely hidden history. So you see, Reverend Andrew Francis Monroe. He was the grandnephew of the 5th President of the United States, the wise and just Scottish Rite Freemason James Monroe, whose 8 years administration invoked the designation, quote, of the era of good feeling, end quote. Look, and this Jesuit priest graduated from the Naval Academy. Look, are you kidding me? Reverend Francis, and it makes sense. Like, the father of the U.S. Navy is Roman Catholic John Barry, and they had one of the founders of the American Scottish Rite Freemasons, Francois Joseph Comte de Grasse, fighting for the American Navy in the Revolutionary War. You see, and then this is why James Edward Quigley, the Archbishop of Chicago, this is what he said in 1903, quoted by the Chicago Tribune. Within 20 years, this country is going to rule the world. Talking about the United States of America, kings and emperors will soon pass away, and the democracy of the United States will take their place. The West will dominate the country, and what I have seen of the Western patriarchal schools has proved that the generation which follows us will be exclusively Catholic. When the United States rules the world, the Catholic Church will rule the world. This is said by the Archbishop of Chicago. Look what I have highlighted there. 1903. Okay. So, I'm just gonna check the chat here. But yeah, going back here, one of the official founders of the quote ancient accepted Scottish Rite, the Comte de Grasse, full name Alexandre Francois Auguste Comte de Grasse, was a member of the Order of Malta, the Knights of Malta, and this guy was also a Grand Master of the British Maltese Order, like the Order of St. John, which I find kind of comical because supposedly like France and Britain were at war, at this time. But you have this French Knight of Malta top general has been knighted by the British. Playing both sides, folks. Actually, and you can see them playing both sides, and even in the Appleton Encyclopedia excerpt I have on the Jesuit priest John Carroll. You see, the next 2 years, John Carroll wasn't through a tour of Europe. He was in company with the son of British Lord Stourton, to whom he was appointed tutor. John Carroll was then in company with the English Jesuits of Flanders. John Carroll took refuge in England, Jesuit John Carroll, whence he conducted important negotiations with the French government in reference to the property held by the Society in France. He, Jesuit John Carroll, was appointed chaplain to his kinsman, Lord Arundel, and performed missionary duties in the neighborhood of Wardour Castle up until the middle of June 1774. Okay, so you see, like, John Carroll, he was close with all the British elites while the revolution was going on, as was Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, all of the American founding fathers, a reference to Catholic priests who were called fathers, priests are. All the founding fathers were close with the British. And that's what I'm saying. That's why King George, he got a planet named after him after the American Revolution. He's referred to as the Holy Roman Empire, the Prince, Arch Treasurer and Prince Elector of the Holy Roman Empire in the Paris Peace Treaty. So, you know, this is part of the grand design here of the new Atlantis colony of the United States of America, having one of the French Navy generals who helped the Americans, or helped establish America as a country, was one of the official co-founders of Scottish Rite Freemasonry, and was in the Knights of Malta, a Vatican military order, in the Order of St. John, a Vatican military order. And again, no coincidence that the Knights of Malta were going to get into full diplomatic legal relations with the USA back as early as 1794. And again, I just put this letter on my website. No coincidence that, and I covered the significance of the Washington Monument in the last video. U.S. President George Washington wrote a special letter to the Roman Catholics of America, March 5th, 1790, right from the government website. He receives much satisfaction with the Catholic congratulations on my being called by unanimous vote to that first station in my country. You know, and Alberto Rivera said it, you know, going all the way back, it was George Washington who the Jesuits first made contact with in the United States of America. George Washington then says that, I presume that your fellow citizens will not forget the patriotic part which you, Roman Catholics, took in the accomplishment of the revolution and the establishment of their government, or the important assistance which they received from a nation in which the Roman Catholic faith is professed. And look at this, George Washington, and some epic gaslighting here. It made the members of your society in America, this is the Jesuits, or Roman Catholics, it made members of your society in America, animated alone by the pure spirit of Christianity. Look at that. George Washington referring to Catholicism as the pure spirit of Christianity. Wow. And still conducting themselves as the faithful subjects of our free government, enjoy every temporal and spiritual felicity. That's coming from the George Washington. Okay, so yeah, this is all on my Reddit here, guys. I'll put these links in the chat, especially just highlighting the founder of, one of the founders of Scottish Rite Masonry, the Knight of Malta. You see here, this guy became a Knight of Malta at 11 years old, the Comte de Grasse. And the Comte de Grasse, as cited in this journal article here, one of the key fighters in the American Revolutionary Army for the French Navy, or in the American Navy. American Navy founded by Irish Roman Catholic John Barry. And you see here, right from a U.S. Navy official source, you see the Comte de Grasse. You see here, he led like 4 different ships and brigades. Here, Comte de Grasse listed 4 times right here. Yeah, I think that's all for this one, YouTube. Just truly all roads lead to Rome. Just another There's interesting tidbit of info here connecting the Scottish Rite Masons directly to the Roman Catholic Church with one of their co-founders, Knight of Malta, the Comte de Grasse, nickname of Francois Joseph Paul de Grasse. But that's all for this one, YouTube. I gotta get ready for work, but I'll see you on the next one. Peace and love.